Welcome back to Agents Confidential. My name is Yana, and before we jump into today's conversation, I wanted to share one thing that really stood out to me after sitting down with Kyle Ingraham, Director of Sales and Retention, Government Programs at Health Alliance Plan by Henry Ford Health. This isn't just another conversation about carrier products. It really is a conversation about partnerships. Kyle has experienced the industry from multiple perspectives as a property and casualty agent, a health insurance agent, and now on the carrier side. It gives him a unique perspective on what makes the relationships between agents and carriers actually work. We talk about why transparency matters, what great carrier partnerships look like, and why investing in those relationships can ultimately help grow your business. We also spend some time talking about AI, how agents can use it to become more efficient. And one of my favorite parts of the conversation, Kyle's advice for prepping for this year's annual enrollment period. If there's one takeaway I had after this conversation, it's this: the agents who prepare early and continue investing in themselves will be in the best position when AEP arrives. So whether you are a brand new agent or you've been through more AEPs than you can count, I think you'll find something valuable in this conversation. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Agents Confidential. I'm Eric. We've got Yana as always, and today we're blessed to have Kyle Ingraham with us. Kyle, why don't you tell us your company name currently?
Well, we did have a little bit of a rebrand. So we are Health Alliance Plan by Henry Ford Health. So just really excited to integrate those two names together now. We've been part of Henry Ford Health for 40 years, but now we're proud to have that on with our official name.
Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Wanted to get into kind of a little bit about you. If you could kind of give us your journey through the Medicare space and the health insurance industry as a whole. Why don't you tell us what you're doing at Health Alliance Plan?
Yeah, so I'm currently the Director of Sales and Retention for Government Programs here at Health Alliance Plan. I've been in the overall insurance industry for 16 years now. The first 8 to 10, I can't really keep track anymore. We're on the agent side, so I spanned everything from commercial property and casualty, as well to large group, small group, health insurance, and then picked up individual, ACA, and Medicare. So basically my journey just kept going. You know, I started in the P&C world. I hated losing clients to an agency that would handle both the P&C and the health insurance, so I picked up health insurance. Then I hated losing members when they were retiring and they were going on to Medicare. And I was like, well, why am I going to give them to somebody else? I'm going to kind of pick up this facet as well. And it just kind of happened that I fell in love with the Medicare industry, helping seniors, wanting to make sure that they're on the right path. And then I had an opportunity to join a large national carrier in their sales team. And I saw it as a chance to, help influence more education and more help. If I could help agents, at the end of the day, they're going to be able to help more members than I could do individually. So I went to the carrier side, have really enjoyed it, and then came to HAP. We're coming up on 5 years ago now, I believe.
Yeah.
And really love it here. The values and everything else really aligned to me personally, and wanting to make sure we're doing the right thing for the member at all times. So it's been a great journey. I love all of it, and I've gotten to meet a lot of amazing people through the industry as well. Yourself, Brian, and a lot of agents all across the state and country at this point. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. I was telling Yana earlier, you used to be our rep, and I always find it frustrating yet, proud of really good reps that then work their way up the ladder and you lose them as a rep, right?
Yeah.
It's like taking your best salesperson and making them a manager kind of thing. But no, you've done phenomenal, great expert in the industry. What are, in your opinion, what does a great agent-carrier relationship kind of look like as you've seen it through a couple different lenses now?
Yeah, I think transparency is something that's super important to me. And as we go through more, it's when decisions are made, or we're trying to align with a certain product or something else, or have those conversations of HMOs versus PPOs and why we want to have that. I think it's important to be transparent with an agent and let them know why we're having that conversation. And it's not necessarily at the end of the day just MLRs are better under this type of plan, but really getting into the nuts and bolts as to why that may be, whether it be risk arrangements with the provider contracts you may have on an HMO that you can't on a PPO. It could be a myriad of different things, but actually being willing to have that conversation and not just say, this is the only one we want to see, which you can't do anyways. But also, I think the same thing on the agent side is having that transparency back to the carrier rep of, what's going on, how are you marketing, what can we do to help each other and assist each other? Because I really do see it as a two-way street and a true partnership. It's not just, we each have our own jobs and you want to sell as many members as possible and I want as many of them to be with Health Alliance Plan as possible. It's really how can we work together and be real partners.
You said something there, and it's taken me a while to remember what all the acronyms mean. MLR. Why don't you go over that a second?
Medical loss ratio. So that is essentially, how much are we getting paid on a member? How much is the member costing us? In very simplistic terms, that's the medical loss ratio. If it's over 100%, it's costing more than the carrier receives in reimbursement for that member. Anything below 100%, it's the opposite.
And it's interesting to me. I don't know that many of the agents I talk to understand that, but have you come across at least a fair amount that do not?
Yeah, newer agents just kind of getting into the industry. It's not something you think about, right? Most agents aren't concerned right off the bat on what their book of business MLR is, right? That's more of a carrier stat that we have to look at because that helps us understand how we're going to invest in our plans moving forward. If a plan's going to remain viable, is it not viable? So those are really the things we look at when we're designing plans, and it lets us know, hey, this plan can be richer. This plan, we may have to reduce some benefits on, and it's all kind of being driven by two main things, the medical loss ratio and the administrative loss ratio. Those two things together kind of come to the full profitability side.
Got it.
I had no idea you started as a P&C agent too. That's wild. So you really have gone through the life cycle of an agent.
Started selling pay-as-you-go workers' compensation for paychecks insurance.
Wow, that's really cool. So you've been an agent yourself. I think that's really valuable to obviously your role now and when you're a carrier rep. But what does your involvement with agents look like now? Like, are you still working with agents one-on-one? Like, what does your involvement look like now?
Yeah, sadly, not nearly as involved as I used to be.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, we have a phenomenal team. I think I'm biased, and I've said this in front of friendly competitors as well. I will be biased and say I think we have the best team in the market. When it comes to agent support, our carrier sales reps are fantastic, as well as a great manager on my team as well that's handling more of the day-to-day. But I definitely work a lot with our FMO partners, large agency partners, but I'm on all the Facebook groups too. I was just answering an agent's question that was in a Facebook group. If I see it, I'm going to answer it or make sure somebody on my team does. If an agent texts me, I'm going to get back to them or make sure somebody on my team gets them an answer. Sadly for me, I'm not as involved day to day. They have me locked down in the office most days now, but it's still something that, as much as I can, I love to get out there.
Yeah. When you were a carrier rep, what were those qualities that you saw in agents that made you excited to work with them?
Yeah, I think it's the agents that are looking for new opportunities, new ideas, willing to try things and open to suggestions is a huge benefit because, as a carrier rep, you're working with, I think at one point, maybe I had like 1,200 agents assigned to me. You are working with a lot of different people, handling things a lot of different ways, and you see how things work and what is working, what isn't working, right? So I never tried to give somebody an idea that I know somebody else is using in their current market. But if I saw it working, in one area that I know this other agent's not working, I may give the idea or start talking about it. And people who were open to those suggestions were a lot of fun because you got to get to know each other a little bit better. We've probably had the conversations of how they're growing their business, what their goals, hopes, aspirations are. And that was the other ones that I love working with, the ones that were open with me on what they want to do and where they want to go with the business, right? That I want to grow to 500 members. I want to grow to 5,000 members and have 2 employees and 3 LOA agents and everything else. Working with them because then we get to be really that partner to try to help my experience and what I know is working and help you get to that point. Because that's always, I think, the goal of a carrier rep is to help your agents succeed. And if they succeed, chances are you're going to as well.
That's cool. I love that.
I'm really liking what you said there. I'm wondering, for agents, I feel like all agents say they want to grow, but not everybody has a plan. So talk us through maybe a generalized example. I don't know if you've seen that as well, where, hey, I'm trying to grow, but they're kind of running in circles or not really focused. Can you speak to us about, when what works best to have an agent grow? Because again, every agent tells me they want to grow, it just they're not always actually achieving it.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody wants to grow. Nobody got into this business to do nothing. And, well, some people do it as I'm going to help my friends and family, and I wanted to learn about it, so I got licensed type of thing, which is great. But for the agents that want to grow, this sounds really simple and it's cliche in a way, but come up with a plan and actually do it. The hardest thing is to continually motivate yourself to get up and do the grind every single day. Because when I see the agents, kind of fall off or they're not producing the way they want to, what you see is frustration get into play, and then they just stop and they look to do something else. Sometimes you have to, right? Like, I understand that completely too. Everybody has, you may have a family and it's just taking longer than you anticipated and you got to take that side job. But what makes me sad when I see it is when they just completely stop the business, right? And they get out of it, because at the end of the day, members need help. It's just sometimes getting your name in front of them is a consistent grind, and you got to keep on it every single day.
Yeah, I was thinking when you said, some, agents have a plan and then, others. I think you have to have a plan and execute, or if you have a really good idea when you said that, and, careful not to share it in the same market. It's like, yeah, but they're going to have to do it. Like, you can have the greatest idea. You could have this industry entirely figured out, but you have to go execute. Like, just because you know how to do it doesn't mean that it's just going to happen, because you actually have to do it. So I appreciate you clarifying that.
Yeah, no, I love that answer too, because it is really simple. You just have to do it. Yeah, ideas are worthless without execution. So
let's get a little bit more into Health Alliance plan. So give us your thoughts, your sales pitch, if you will, on what really makes Health Alliance plan different from other carriers. Of course, you're going to be biased, right?
Be as biased as you
want. There's a few main things. One is we're fortunate in Michigan that we have a few of us around that are regional players that are nonprofit. But I think being a nonprofit's a massive differentiator away from the national competitors. And that's mostly because we don't need to get to a, margin that's going to make shareholders happy and everything else. Our goal and how we file our bids are really trying to get just to that net neutral phase, so that we're helping the members the best we can, and investing, into our care coordination, our clinical management, and everything else just as much as we are in trying to make sure that the members are getting quality benefits. For an agent, I really do think it's our service that sets us aside. We have really strong and strict KPIs. Everybody we come into the team, that's the one thing that I stress immediately, is that, you have to respond to an email within 24 hours. You have to respond to a voicemail within 2 hours, and you have to respond to a text message within 30 minutes. Unless you're in the middle of a meeting, there's going to be those one-offs, but as soon as you can, we have to respond, because I have been that agent and I've tried to get a hold of my carrier rep, and they don't answer me for 2 or 3 days, and it's super frustrating because I have an issue or something going on that I need rectified. We are going to be responsive. And the other big part of that is everyone on our team, and this is by design, has been an agent at one point in time. Everybody on our sales team has sat at the kitchen table and had those conversations and had needs as an agent. And I think that's super important for a carrier's sales team to have that experience. Because it makes sense to them when I stress why we have to be as responsive as we are.
You mean agents don't ask questions just because they're curious?
No. Usually there's a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
The other huge thing I think for both our agent partners and our members is our Navigator program. The Navigator program really was brought into design because we wanted members to have somebody that they know and can reach out to help out with questions. And it's kind of cool. We had our member event with our navigators a couple of months ago. We got to have some of our members in and actually meet in person with their navigators and really just continue to build that connection. We had one person come in and he brought his whole family because he said his navigator felt like a family member to him. And he wanted to make sure that everybody has met their navigator. There are people that are there, if the member is lonely, it's somebody that they know they can call and talk to and have that relationship. We've had that quite a few times. Where an agent, though, where that helps out is that's a huge benefit on the customer service side. They know they can call their navigator, get their questions answered on their plan, get help, be connected with the care coordinator, help make an appointment with the doctor. And that allows the agent to focus on that growth stuff, because a lot of times you get to a certain size and you feel bogged down by the service. You can't get to the new business initiatives because you're so busy. This allows them, that freedom to say, hey, you have a navigator, they can answer those customer service questions. And now the agent can focus on those other growth things to get to the next level.
How long have you guys been doing the navigator program?
I want to say this is year 3 or 4.
Okay, because my fault. I wasn't as aware of it as I should have been. And we had Heather in the office last week and was talking about it. For those agents listening that use HAP and have people on HAP, can you go through because I think it's like just a few quick steps to get them connected with a navigator. How do you do that for your member?
So if it's a member that they're like newly sold, they're coming into HAP, the navigator is going to reach out.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. So within, I think it's 3 to 5 days of enrollment, the navigator reaches out to introduce themselves, make sure that they have the phone number. That number is going to come from 1-800-HAP here. So if they're looking on their phone and it pops up as HAP here, that's their navigator calling them to introduce themselves. And then there's going to be different touch points throughout the year. If the member is on an older plan, it's an established member, maybe that plan doesn't have navigator attached to it just because, it's a smaller plan. It wasn't part of that program when we put it into play. They can call in to customer service and ask for a navigator, and we'll get them connected to one. It's available to our members. It's just they may not have been auto-assigned one.
That's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love how it's like a back office almost for the agent.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal program. And if an agent wants to make sure they have a navigator or find out who they are, they can reach out to my team and we'll talk to our navigator team and just make sure that we can get them the name of whoever's assigned to them. The only thing that they're not meant to be for is agent support. So agents still reach out to my team, reach into the inbox if you want to help out your member. Those navigators are very busy, so we want to make sure we're reserving their time for the members.
That's cool that you guys have something dedicated to the client support that agents can rely on too. I think that's huge. I haven't heard of that. Definitely sets Health Alliance Plan apart. So that's awesome. That's a cool program.
Yeah, we love the navigators. They're great.
That's great.
And they're all in Michigan, which is awesome too.
Yeah. Wow.
So they got that Michigan accent?
It definitely helps to have them all here.
Yeah.
Right.
It was important for us to have it local and just make sure that you're talking to somebody who's going through the same weather, same everything as you are. They know when that snowstorm is hit because they're going to be dealing with the same thing.
So as an agent, you've been through AEP yourself. What do you think, and the past couple years have been a little bit crazy, what do you think that agents should be prepping for heading into AEP? I know it's July, but this is really when the prep starts. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy year again. I would love to tell you it's not, and we can all relax for, that 54 days or whatever it is, but it's going to be a busy year. I'd be lying to the agents if I said plans are going to get better. Don't worry about it. You're not going to have any questions from your members. There's going to be changes. Reimbursement levels just didn't match what the medical cost is going up. They should also be aware, though, that, probably most carriers in the market this year are really going to be looking to retain. It's been such a crazy year of shoppers and everything else. The main focus is like, hey, how can we, maintain our current book, kind of weather this reimbursement level, see if it gets a little bit better next year. But I think we're all just trying to figure out too, there's been changes to star metrics. You have the CAP surveys, the results that are just coming back. So there's a lot that we're all kind of trying to figure out what that looks like for the 2 and 3 year plans for us as carriers. So I got a feeling what you should be looking at is prepare for some negative ANOCs to go out, and that you're going to have those conversations. This might be a great year if you haven't been doing ANOC meetings with your members to do some of those, especially if you have a large swath of members with one specific carrier, one specific plan. May not be a bad idea to have a big, group ANOC meeting where you go through and talk about the changes, because I do see a shift in the industry, nationwide, as I'm talking to a lot of my friends and partners in, the Health Plan Alliance, not Health Alliance Plan, but Health Plan Alliance, and a few other ones where, supplemental benefits are definitely something I'm seeing nationally, go away in some cases.
Yeah.
Some of the benefits are just being eliminated because they're not being used. There's no real good clinical outcome to it. So just be prepared for a lot of education. The good news is I don't think, maybe minus some areas or locations, I don't think we're going to see massive movement that's being forced on you this year like we have in others.
Yeah.
Right,
I
which
yeah, I love the idea of an ANOC meeting. I haven't heard of doing that. And I mean, so many clients just don't read their ANOCs. So having a set time where you can go through that with clients, I think that's huge.
when we've talked about like batching your clients, right? Like if you have, people in, the exact same plan, they're all kind of going through the same thing and you don't have to repeat yourself. I like sending clients video. They don't get to interrupt so you can get all the information out and then say, hey, schedule, your review with me so we can get to your specific thing. Kyle, are there resources both in the industry and or specifically at Health Alliance Plan that you wish agents took more advantage of?
It's a good question. I don't think there's anything, in terms of Health Alliance Plan that we're not seeing agents utilize. What I do wish is that they not all of them take the time to sit down with their reps and actually get to know them and
Right.
ask the questions that they may have. I wish that would happen a little bit more. Because I've been that one out on the field, and you're trying to meet with everybody and build those relationships, and because that's the important part to me, I think, is the relationship that you have with your carrier is super important when you just the ease and comfort of writing business and understanding who to reach out to and what's the best method of contacting that, right? So when you start to build those relationships, you understand that a little bit better. In the industry in general, I have been talking to agents for a long time and investing in themselves. Go to the conferences, go to search out any of the news that comes out on a daily basis about Medicare. I mean, set an alert on your Gmail or your mail system that's going to pull any articles that come out every day. And actually, AI can probably do it better now. I'm probably antiquated in how I'm getting my alerts at this point. And then I'd really start looking into how AI is going to be able to benefit you and make you more efficient as an agent. I don't see AI as a threat to taking over the agent's job. What I actually see is AI coming in and making agents way more efficient. I think there's ways that can be utilized. And now there's so many conferences and everything else going on about how AI works just in general that I would just say, take the time to invest in yourself and then reaching out to your FMO partners. So many times I see agents, they contract through an FMO and that's they just do it because that's how you contract, right? That's what they think, but really there's a wealth of knowledge within the walls of the FMOs that you can lean on. And sometimes we have different programs going on with our FMO partners that you may be able to get access to. But unless you have that relationship and you're utilizing those benefits, you may miss out on that opportunity.
Well, and I like what you said because I believe 100% in knowing the rep part. When Heather was here last time, I said it's kind of like knowing where the fire extinguisher is and how to use it. So when you do have an emergency, it's not the first time you've interacted with it.
Mm-hmm.
She laughed because I said, there's nothing worse than calling somebody and being like, yeah, we've never met and you're my rep and I have a huge problem. You need to figure this out right now, and being like really aggressive and frustrated, where it's like, hey, we're all humans. Let's establish a relationship so we can help when the stuff does hit the fan, right?
Exactly. I mean, I look at it like a family member, right? You know how to interact with all your different family members. Because you've known them, you understand how they work and everything else. It's the exact same thing with a business relationship too. The better you know the person, the more time you take to sit down and talk to or have those conversations on the phone when there isn't an emergency going on, you're going to know the best way to interact on both sides, right? It helps us as a carrier to know, hey, if you're heated, something's going on and you're really bothered, you're upset, right? Maybe rightfully so. You're doing the best thing for your member, but we're going to know how to interact with you and make sure that that's a positive experience that we can turn it into, as opposed to if we don't have that relationship, we don't know, if this is a true fire because we haven't had something come up with you before to understand. You only get heated if it's serious. Some people like to get heated, for some small things, and that's fine too. Our team's going to be there and help them out. It helps us as a carrier to know how to interact.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit about what you said about AI too, because I do totally agree. I don't think AI is going to replace an agent. This industry as a whole is just about people. So AI just can't replace that. But do you have any specific ways that an agent can use AI to become more efficient, like you mentioned?
Yeah, I've really been leaning back on my FMO partners because they're a little bit closer to the day-to-day work of an agent and how their businesses are being run to kind of suggest some of those opportunities that they may be utilizing as well. I can tell you, just for pure efficiencies for me, I like to go in every morning. We use Copilot here at the office. I go in the morning and ask it to prioritize my emails that I got overnight and my calendar invites for the day to see if there's anything coming up that's urgent, just by how it's written, to make sure I'm not missing that email, until I finally get to a chance to get that email 30 or 40 on the day. So things like that, asking it to, every week I have it review my calendar, give me a summary of everything I've got going on each day to make sure I'm aligned when that is. And do I have any downtime that I need to be able to make sure I'm taking advantage of as well to schedule, the actual work we have to do every day. Then I think it really comes into scheduling calendars. It's going to get to a point where everybody should have a link at this point that they can just click on and somebody schedule meetings on their calendars, prioritizing that. So that's the quick side. And then also, for marketing ideas, generating different ideas that you can do to access, new markets you're moving into. I think all of those things are where an agent's able to utilize it. And there's probably 1,000 more that I'm just not aware of yet.
And I'm in agreement. I like the prioritize my emails. I think for an agent during AEP, that being their first thing that they do is what are the fires that came in overnight? And yeah, I really like those. And then if you could sit down with every single Medicare agent for 5 minutes before AEP starts, what would you want them to hear?
Great question.
We didn't bring
5
any
minutes right before
softballs today. They're all curving hardballs, buddy.
That's all right. I think there's really two things. One is much longer than a 5-minute conversation with them. And it goes back to what I was saying before with transparency, is I'd like to sit down with everybody that's contracted with us and just have that conversation that when you see plan changes happen and you see benefits not as good next year as they were this year, I believe in having that conversation of explaining why. And hey, it's because this plan has an MLR that's running at this level, and this is why. It has high inpatient utilization. It has, high cost RX utilization. We're seeing a large amount of members falling into another bucket, and we have to make adjustments in those areas. The other part is, talking about supplemental benefits, and if one is reduced or taken away, it's explaining why, right? And I'm not saying we are reducing or taking anything away. This is just industry generalities. It's why. Is utilization low? Is there no clinical benefit to that? Is it both? Nobody's using it and there's no clinical benefit. Why are we paying for it? So it's having those types of conversations. The 5 minutes before AEP is get ready. Because no matter what happens, a curveball is going to be thrown at you every single day in AEP. It's going to be crazy. And if it's not crazy, it's because you're just not doing the work that you can. Some will say, well, I have a small book, so it's not crazy. Well, that's your chance to grow every year. It's a huge opportunity that you have. But really, and I do know, like I said, plans aren't going to get better. You have to be prepared to have those conversations with members. I think you should be doing that now. Honestly, you don't know the exact benefits and what's going to get done, but those prep conversations can say, hey, when the ANOCs come this year, we're really expecting, and it can build your trust within your members because you're going to, in your opinion, call what's going to happen. If you reach out to your members and you have them now and you say, hey, I'm talking to people across the industry. This is what I think is going to happen this AEP. I think you have to be prepared probably for annual notice of change to come that's not as good of a plan, or as rich of a plan as you had this year, next year. Have those conversations so that when it comes, it's not a shock to the member.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big things that can cause a lot of that panic and frustration right at the kickoff of AEP is, my gosh, I got an ANOC and all these things changed and it's all bad. It's not good news this year. Because they did have quite a few years where those ANOCs were like Christmas in the morning. You got in and just had a whole bunch of new things added to your plan.
Yep.
So having that conversation beforehand, I think, can help eliminate a lot of that immediate abrasion that you see in phone calls just coming in nonstop because members are reading their ANOCs and have questions. You can get ahead of it a little.
Well, it's funny too, because I remember you had mentioned like the travel benefit. I think I had asked you a few years ago why that changed or reduced or went away. And you're like, people aren't using it. And, to get a letter that says, you're taking my travel benefit away that I didn't use. Why am I upset about it? It's just, if I wanted to, now I can't use it anymore. Yeah. Kyle, I have a question for you kind of off the cuff, and this may get deleted. Do you ever see, is it possible to do like an MAPD, like just a super baseline MAPD, but then like you could pick some of these ancillary benefits and maybe you get, there's a list of 10 and you get to pick up to 5. And you can it's almost like custom making hey, I do want a travel benefit, or I need more this or that, and it wouldn't change the price necessarily. I don't even know if that's anything that's possible.
Yeah, I think first we still have our travel benefit. Just want to clear that up.
Sorry, I was thinking transportation benefit. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, yeah, okay, yeah, some of the transportation.
Yeah.
So it's a really good idea. Where I think we're going to see it struggle to hit the market is the administrative side of it. How are you going to administer that? And how are you going to structure your contracts with those vendors without knowing what the membership is going to be in those plans every year? That's where I think it really gets difficult, because it's a great idea. I love it. Choose what you're going to use and get rid of the rest. I think that's great. I think where we're going to struggle is the actual administrative side of that and how you build out those contracts and everything else with those vendors.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, Yanni, you want to handle rapid fire?
We have some rapid fire questions for you. So getting into it, the first one, coffee or energy drinks?
Ooh, both.
Yeah, that's a
I
lot.
start with coffee. I start with coffee and then move to energy drinks.
One thing that you cannot start your workday without.
Copilot telling me what emails I need to go through.
I love that. One word to describe a great agent.
Consistency.
Yeah, that's huge. And then one piece of advice that you'd give your younger self.
Get Medicare sooner. I joke around all the time and tell people, like, if I had known about this industry when I was 21, like I could have saved myself a lot of time and energy that I did on my career. But I think as we have our turmoils every year, like any highly regulated, business does, but this is the only thing I want to be doing. I love being in this. I think we're doing good things and helping really good people. And I love being with a regional carrier like I am now and having that at-home feel. So yeah, I just wish I would have gotten into it, 10 years before I did.
Love that. I think we've heard that a couple times too. It is a great industry overall.
Glad that you love it. Cal, before we wrap up, and this has been awesome, we really appreciate it. We always have a closing question we'd like to ask every guest. If an agent's listening to this episode and took one piece of advice from your experience in the industry, you can't say get into Medicare sooner because you just did that one, what would it be?
If one piece I think is truly an actionable item, right away, is to start to have those prep conversations for AEP this year. I think you're going to make your life a lot easier if you have those conversations. Yes, you don't know what the changes exactly are. You don't know how big they're going to be. But when I'm hearing across the market, across the country, everybody's trying to retain and try to, get back to where they should be. To expect an ANOC to be at least what it was, if not a little bit worse this year, have that conversation early, stop those initial reaction phone calls that you're getting from some of your members. That will allow you to execute on what your initial plan for AEP was. A lot of times that gets thrown off right off the bat if your phones are blowing up all day long because members got their ANOCs. Get ahead of it a little bit, just give them a heads up that probably they're going to see a reduction. And you're going to get a lot of credit from your members for being open, honest, and kind of calling it.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me, there's a quote from a movie where he asks, when did Noah build the ark? Before the rain.
Yeah.
Got to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and how great would it be if you called now and was like, hey, just so you know, some things, we're hearing some things. And then they get their ANOC and they're like, oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
And honestly,
yeah,
for us, that's kind of what we're planning on it being.
Yeah.
But I just know industry-wide, this isn't just Health Alliance Plan that we're talking about here. This is just industry-wide what I'm seeing and hearing, and it's important to be transparent with your members too, and it will make your life a little bit easier.
And I think every agent has gone through a crazy AEP, so at least their clients might know what to expect this year, and if we can get ahead of that, it's only going to help. It's to just prep. Yeah.
I saw they did a study too where before you get a shot, if they say, okay, a bit of a prick coming, it hurts less because you're anticipating it and realize that may be happening. It's a physiological thing that it hurts less when you're warned than if you're just surprised by it. Letting people know you're going to be getting these letters. It may not be exactly what you want to hear. Let's talk about it.
And reminding them that's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Use it to schedule that renew or review appointment with them too. Is get that scheduled out early. Start having those calls now, and you're going to be in a better place.
Totally.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome, Kyle. Really appreciate you again taking the time to talk with us. Agents, reach out. Heather, does she say?
Podolak.
Yeah, Heather's amazing, works with AEG and some other FMOs, and the whole HAP team has always been great. Really appreciate them. So thank you for being on the call, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, I really appreciate your
Yeah, sounds great.
you.